couple of days ago, I asked you in the metal community to contribute comments about what quotes you've heard that ignite metal elitism and things like that. I want to say first of all, thank you so much for everybody who contributed a comment. I was really overwhelmed by the response. I was not thinking I was going to get that many comments over 2 days. So to all of those who commented with your stories, shared your stories, thank you so much. So as you know, I'm going to be sort of touching upon elitism, particularly in the metal community. I'm using it as an example. It's the community I'm mostly part of, and it's very noticeable in most cases. So yeah, so some of the comments I did receive from you guys, some of them, were no surprise to me whatsoever, like, oh, will this band stop screaming so they're not metal anymore? Which in some ways, which now I think about it, is quite confusing in itself. Iron Maiden, throughout their career, no screaming within their records, and they're considered metal icons. Screamo bands, who scream all the time, aren't considered, like Bring Me the Horizon, Suicide Silence. They're not considered proper metal, but they scream all the time. But then, because Trivium aren't screaming anymore, they're not proper metal. Right, I do understand each of these bands are completely different. Seeing there's no, oh, you can't compare three bands like that, things like that, I know probably going to get. But they're all under the metal umbrella, so I sort of can think, yep, hang on a minute. I can think, well, hang on, they're Maiden considered icons, but they don't scream in their sound. Emo bands use screamo all the time, they're not considered metal. Whereas Trivium, because they're not, and Opeth, because they're not screaming anymore, oh, they're shit now, they're not proper metal. So what exactly is proper metal, really? Whether it's glam metal, whether it's power metal, whether it's black metal, whether it's death, thrash, or neon, throg, prog, whatever. So whatever band has like 5 subgenres in their title, it's all metal. At the end of the day, it's, we're drawn to it because we love the darker side of music, we love the more heavier side of music. And I've over my career as a, not just as a, since I delved into the metal scene a bit further, I have been hearing a lot of quotes about certain genres. I've heard, oh, power metal's for girls. I've heard that. I've also heard, oh, folk metal, that's just stupid, and it's not taking it seriously. Well, hang on, none of us take ourselves seriously nowadays. And like, we enjoy metal, like metal's there to be enjoyed, not to be taken seriously, So I've heard, actually, and then I've heard some people describe like bands like Eden's Curse and Eden's Curse, they're called, that's proper metal, and that's more melodic, and that's more, there's no screaming in that either. And somebody said, I remember hearing them go, this is proper metal, like more melodic stuff, rather, because I know they completely dismiss doom, sludge, black, anything with screaming in. So I guess at the end of the day it is down to personal taste. But to call something proper metal, I'm not so sure about that, to be honest. To me, metal's metal at the end of the day, whether it's the fun stuff of folk metal, whether it's the really beautiful, dark, sheer screaming of black, or even sometimes just something plain and simple, like something plain and simple, like melodic. Metal's metal to me at the end of the day. It doesn't matter what genre, what subgenre it is. It doesn't matter what, how many drop beats they use or how many shredding riffs they use. It's metal at the end of the day. And we're all reunited by our love for the heavier side of the spectrum. So to use the phrase proper metal is somewhat stupid, I think. Feel free to disagree, but I personally think using proper metal is stupid. What is proper metal, really? I understand it's not meant to be taken seriously either. I don't take that phrase seriously, but I've met a few people who do take the phrase seriously, and it's like, no, I'm not seeing your logic here, to be honest. So it's probably why I started liking bands more than genres. Because genres only separate, puts the bands into different groups, like, you know, herds of cattle. Like you're sorting out different food groups, but actually they're all metal, they're all one part of one big family. I mean, like I say, down to personal taste at the end of the day, but like a wise friend of mine said to me, Snake, I just see friends at the end of the day. I don't see fans, press, bands, I see friends. And that's exactly what I see, whatever genre you happen to be, whatever, if you're a fan, you're a part of the press, if you're a band member, you know, it's all friends at the end of the day. We're all one big family. But anyway, back to my topic. So, I started liking bands more than genres, I think maybe in the past several months. Particularly when I got I assigned a couple of albums that initially I thought, oh god, you know, because it was a genre, I thought, oh, you know, here we go. But then I ended up really enjoying the album. I thought, well, hang on, this is really, really good. And it got me thinking, I was like, well, hang on, there's probably bands, you know, really good bands. You know, as most of us know, there are excellent bands within every genre. So and when people ask me what kind of metal I like now, I say, I like these bands. I like bands. I don't, you know, genres, you know, that's a label. That nothing more, just describes the kind of music they play. But if I just say, oh yeah, I like said bands, you know, don't care what genre they're from, you know, it's a good mix and match. I mean, like, so if I'm wondering how metal elitists judge what kind of music they like from listening to it, or from the genre of music they see. I'm really wondering that, because as my personal experience as a journalist, I like recommending music. You know, it's my job to get bands' faces out there and people listening to them. But with elitists, it's so hard to say, yeah, when you finally think, oh, brilliant, I found a band they may like, send it to them. Oh, well, there's not enough of this, so this isn't proper metal. Oh, there isn't this. And I think, oh, for God's sake, back to square one. So, yeah, they're really hard to recommend music to, so I'm wondering how they decide what is proper metal in their eyes or ears. So, they're really hard to recommend music to. Oh, well, that's not, oh, it doesn't have enough of this, or oh, it doesn't get me excited enough, or, and then, yeah, you think, pull back to square one. But the funny thing about them is, and I'm going to say this, they're fairly easy to wind up. Particularly if you know they'll stay away from one genre of music. And then you can go, oh yeah, well you like that band, and they go, oh shut up, you know, they take it some of them do take it really seriously, really passionately, so that's the funny thing about it. They're easy to wind up. And me being a bit of a wind-up merchant, I'll admit that, I'm a bit of a wind-up merchant. It's a lot of fun. So, and some of the comments that did shock me a little bit, that made me think, really? was the people having a go at their fashion sense. Like, because you don't dress like a typical metalhead, you're not considered one automatically. And I think, wait, what? The classic example of not judging a book by the cover. I mean, they could be wearing a really girly dress. Like, one of my friends dresses up in really girly dresses and things like that, but she's as metal as anything. Headbangs, you know, you think, oh, when you first see her, nicely made up. Things like, for a couple of girlfriends, you think, oh, they're nicely made up, and you know, they don't look like they want to get their hair all whatever, but then the moment they're the ones in the centre of the mosh pit, they're the ones headbanging like crazy at the front. So don't judge a book by the cover. And that's what the metal thing always wants to say. They say, oh, don't judge us for what we wear, what we look like, but then sometimes it happens within our own community, and that is sad. Because we're the ones that say, oh no, we don't care what we look like, or things like that, but then the moment somebody breaks that code, a couple of my friends have, some of them go, oh, well, you can't be, oh, I didn't think you'd like metal. Bit of an unfair assumption, really. Well, how about the fact they're at the gig, or at the festival, or at the pub to enjoy a metal music? How about that they're there? That's all the information you need. That's sometimes all the information you need. Or sometimes, like, or do they stay when you put the heaviest metal track on? Should we be running these kind of tests? Elitism, luckily, is extremely rare. I've not seen it, I haven't seen it on an extreme scale, other than the odd friend who doesn't like a certain genre. But luckily, have friends who do accept me whatever. Even if I say, oh yeah, I like listening to Dragon Force, or yeah, I like listening to ABBA. So, yeah. So I guess my final message behind this video, which is, I know some of you, a lot of you continue to do, is respect other people's opinions and choices on what they listen to. And don't be afraid to try new things. Anyway, that's me. And whilst doing this video about elitism, it's given me an idea for next week. I would love to hear your guilty pleasures. I would love to hear your what your guilty pleasures are. Please comment. I will spill all mine next week. Take care for now. Bye.